Hey guys, Chad Taverny here with Vantage Point Outdoors, and in today's video I just wanted to do a quick video for you going around to all of my food plots and my forage lanes, and I want to explain to you what I'm going to be seeding down this year in the food plots and forage lanes and why I'm going to do that. Alright, well, as you can see here, I'm on a forage lane, and I had really good results on this forage lane last season. I had this planted down to biologic maximum, and I've actually got a tree stand here about 15 yards behind me that overlooks this forage lane. I took a mature doe here on opening day last season. As I said, I had a great stand of biologic maximum on this forage lane, and one thing I like about these forage lanes is it seems to increase your daylight deer activity on my property anyways. Last season I had hundreds of pictures literally of mature does, fawns, small bucks, and even one big mature buck that was using this forage lane, and it's a great way to increase daylight deer activity on your property. This season I'm going to plant this forage lane to rough ridge clover buffet, and the reason why I want to do that is because last year I noticed once my brassica got mature and it stopped growing, the deer pretty much had me completely eaten out here before the season even ended. And because I'm in a big wood setting here, I don't have a whole lot of competition when it comes to other food sources. So late fall, when everything browns up in the woods and my food sources are still really green, I really attracted a lot of animals in here last year, and the brassica just didn't last long enough for me to take advantage of that last few weeks real late season hunting, which is where I'm going to have my best opportunity at a mature buck here in northern New York. I mean, yeah, I could have killed a dozen does off this forage lane if I wanted to, but I passed a lot of deer. I did take one doe on at opening day, but these forage lanes can be a great way to not only increase overall food plot acreage on your properties, but also a great way to increase daylight deer activity on your properties. Alright guys, well here I am, I'm in a food plot of mine. This food plot here is probably maybe a half acre, a little bit larger in size total. It's kind of a meandering food plot, and I designed it that way for a purpose. And again, I like to keep a lot of structure in my food plots, kind of keep them narrow, and I just find that in a pressured area like northern New York here, where we have a almost 2-month-long firearm season, it's important to keep your food plots, you know, with a lot of cover in them and a lot of cover around them. This way here you're going to have mature animals being comfortable using these food plots during daylight hours. And this is a food plot that I had great results with last year. I had this food plot also seeded down into biologic maximum. Food plot grew outstanding. I had a lot of forage in this food plot last year, and again I captured probably thousands of pictures of all age class of deer in this food plot. I didn't take a deer from this food plot, but I passed literally dozens of deer throughout the season. I was targeting one really big mature buck that I just couldn't get to come into this food plot during daylight hours. The closest I got to him was September 28th. I hunted this food plot when I was bow hunting, and he actually showed up about 20 yards from the blind 1 hour after I left that evening after dark. But anyways, I was in here last weekend. I dumped down about 400 or 500 pounds of lime on this food plot, and I'm going to be seeding it down this year I'm actually going to put Eagle Seed soybeans in this food plot. I'm selecting this location to put my soybeans because I think just from last season, I feel this food plot here has the best soil that I have access to in this property, and I feel like I'm going to have an easier time growing a good crop of soybeans in this food plot because this food plot's a little bit lower. It holds a little bit more moisture. You can see behind me there's actually still some standing water in this food plot. This is the only area that has not completely dried out yet in my property. So I'm going to go with soybeans because it's going to hold a little bit more moisture throughout the summer, and B, it has the best soil conditions that my property has to offer. And I've never tried growing soybeans before. This is going to be my first summer. I'm hoping I can pull it off. I think this would be a great late season place to hunt if I can get a good crop of soybeans, and hopefully the deer don't overbrowse them too much. Another reason why I want to mix it up, going with clover and soybeans, is I'm hoping that having the clover, you know, in the other food plots and on my forage lanes, as well as the native browse in here during the summer months, I'm hoping that that's enough to keep my deer from overbrowsing these soybeans. And if I can get them to late season, I should be in the chips hopefully. And this is my game plan for a late season mature buck hunt right here in this food plot. Okay, and now we're at another food plot of mine. This food plot here is probably about 1/3 of an acre in size, and I was in here again last weekend, and I also put lime down on this food plot. I put a couple 100 pounds of lime here. I'm going to be putting down maybe 75 to 100 pounds of fertilizer on this food plot. And this food plot I'm going to be putting in Rough Ridge Clover Buffet this season, and I want to do that, because this is the food plot that's only probably maybe 100 yards from that last food plot that I just showed you. And I want to, again, limit the browse pressure on those soybeans I'm going to plant by having a good crop of clover over here. That's my goal anyways. And this is a good food plot here. I didn't hunt it. I only hunted it a couple times last season. And the main reason for that is this is the food plot, for whatever reason, I had the least amount of pictures of that big buck that I was after over here. So I only hunted this food plot a couple times, and also this food plot is actually the furthest into my property from the roadway, so you have to, you know, stir things up a little bit more getting in and out of here. And I just like to limit human activity as much as possible on my properties during hunting season, because as we all know, big bucks are certainly, you know, they're not going to put up a lot of human intrusion. So I tried to hunt this food plot when the wind was only really good for it. And like I said, coupled with the fact that I didn't have a lot of pictures. I did have a couple pictures of that big buck in here, but I just didn't feel like this was the place to kill him last year, so I didn't hunt this much. But maybe this year, with having a good crop of clover here, hopefully, who knows? I got a couple trail cameras that monitor this food plot 365 days a year, so I'll keep tabs on it, and I'll know exactly what deer are using this food plot. But again, this food plot here, we're going to be putting down Rough Ridge Clover Buffet. It's about 1/3 of an acre. It borders a long hardwood ridge, and there's actually a pretty nasty swamp just down over the side of the ridge. So this is a great spot, and I'm not sure why I didn't have as many pictures of that big buck in here, because this food plot did outstanding last year. I had brassica here last year. It grew very, very well. But that's the update from this food plot, and hopefully I can take a deer or two from this food plot this season. Alright folks, well here we are. We're at another end of that forage lane system I was telling you about, and I named this spot Downtown, and I did that because all of the deer activity on this property, at least a good majority of it, seems to kind of funnel right around this area. I've got a tree stand probably just about 60-70 yards here to my west off into this thick cover here, overlooking this this forage lane. And this forage lane actually kind of intersects with another gut that goes down to this swamp. And I went in there a couple seasons ago, and I cut that gut out and got rid of all the debris. It's all full of briars, and those briars are head tall. You can't even walk through there in the summertime. So what I did is I went in there with a real heavy duty weed whacker, and I actually cut down a trail about 5-6 feet wide right down through that gut. And the last couple seasons, I have deer traffic on that trail pretty much every day of the year, except for late winter, when the deer here go into a yarding phase, and they must, you know, they go somewhere else other than my property, because I don't have a whole lot of tracks or pictures here during late winter from, say, mid-January through probably March, or when our snow melts. Then the deer come back. But the deer activity, a lot of deer activity from this property, funnels right around this forage lane. And last year I had this seeded down to ryegrass, and I captured hundreds of photos of, again, all age classes of deer that were using this forage lane. I had a lot of deer using it during daylight hours, but again, I just couldn't get that one big buck I was chasing. He just wouldn't come in here during daylight. But I passed numerous deer from that tree stand there, overlooking that forage lane. In this spot here, the wind just seems to be really consistent. It seems to always be blowing out of the west here, which is perfect for this tree stand. And it's a spot I can get into and out of without alerting pretty much any deer on my property. So it's only about 100 yards from the road. I can sneak in here. I got a real good access trail in and out. And it just seems to be a very huntable place that I can get away with hunting, numerous times and not alerting deer to where I'm at. But this year I'm going to seed this forage lane down to Rough Ridge Clover Buffet. I put some lime down here as well on this forage lane system. I'm going to come in here in a couple weeks after turkey season, get this all redisced back up, get a good seed bed in here, put down some fertilizer, get some Rough Ridge Clover Buffet, which again I'm hoping is going to take some pressure off my little half acres of soybeans I want to put in. And hopefully this is going to be another dynamite place to hunt this fall if I can get a lush green bed of clover on this forage lane. Alright, now here we are in the last food plot that I have on this property. This food plot here is probably in between a third and a half of an acre. It's a pretty good sized little food plot. And last year I had this seeded down to pretty much a variety of things. I had brassica in here, I had forage oats, I even threw down a little bit of clover because I was having trouble getting this food plot to take because the soil is more sandy over here. Again, I limed this food plot well, I fertilized it well, the same as my other food plots, but again, because this soil is more sandy, I just couldn't get the food plots to establish here as well. It ended up growing very, very well later on in the fall. I had a beautiful food plot here, and but the ryegrass that I put in here and the brassica did the best. But as you can probably see here behind me, I've actually got a little bit of clover. That clover I put down in here is starting to green up and starting to come into this food plot. And I actually got my turkey blind up here, probably 15, 20 yards away from me. I've got my blind set up here for turkey season in this food plot because it's the greenest place on the property, and I think it's going to be the best place to hopefully bring some turkeys in. I've already gotten a couple trail cam pictures of turkeys in this food plot here the last couple weeks, so I'm going to start my turkey hunting in this food plot, and I'll deviate as the season goes along if I need to. But as far as this season here in this food plot, I'm going to be putting down Rough Ridge Clover Buffet in this food plot. I'm hoping it will establish and take. It should. I relimed it again this year. I put down a little bit extra lime here just because this soil is so sandy. I ended up probably putting down, well, I put down 12 40-pound bags of lime on this food plot, and I'm going to fertilize it real well. I'm going to put down probably a couple 100 pounds of fertilizer in this food plot just before I seed. So I'm hoping I can get some clover in here, get a good stand of clover established. And this is going to be a great food plot. Again, I didn't hunt this food plot a lot either. I actually passed several does here the few times I did hunt. I got a lot of trail cam pictures of deer in this food plot. Had some pictures of that big buck I was after in this food plot. I just didn't hunt this as much because I had a couple other places on the farm that I just thought my chances were better. And but that's my goals for my food plots and my forage lanes for this season. Having a successful food plot begins and ends with having established goals and objectives for your food plot. Alright guys, there you have it. I just wanted to do a quick little video for you, kind of explaining to you what my thought process here on my property and what my goals and objectives are for my food plots this season. I want to thank you for tuning in as always, and I'll see you next time, right here on the VPO Minute.